All right, everybody, welcome back to Ducks and Pucks. Happy New Year. We're going to look over some of the games that happened this last week. We just had a couple that passed and talk about some action around the NHL, some things that are going on, and some movement with the Ducks, and also look forward to the All-Star game coming up. First off, Eddie, we'll go back to New Year's Eve. Go back to the Sharks game in which the Ducks lost 3-0. Very frustrating game, Eddie, especially in person. A lot of calls went against the Ducks that game, and the Ducks didn't start out well, but the refs certainly didn't do them any
Yeah, the penalty
favors in the
kill got a
third
pretty big
period.
workout that game. San Jose ended up having 8 power plays, and to say the least, some of the calls, especially near the end of the second period after the late Corey Perry hit, were pretty questionable, and obviously came back to bite them in the beginning of the third period when San Jose scored on the 5-1-3. So it was a frustrating game to watch, and I can imagine it was a frustrating game in person too. The Ducks kind of had started off with a slow first period and only had 3 shots and were outshot 14-3 in the first period. And found themselves down 1-0. A little bit unlucky on Anderson with a tip about a foot in front of his net. He really had no chance, and Pavelski scoring again from continuing his hot streak for the Sharks. And then after a second period where they kind of picked it up and it was a little bit more even period, and near the end of the period, there was a late hit on Perry, obviously by Wingles, and that stirred the controversy with the refs giving out an unsportsmanlike to Getzlaff, a roughing to Kessler and Perry, and only an interference to Wingles, and no other penalties to any of the Sharks, even though there was pretty much a brawl on the ice with the players who were on the ice, and the Ducks somehow come out with 3 penalties to one. It's something you don't see that often for sure.
Yeah, my buddy Brian that runs Refuse Suck would have been proud because I think that was one of the loudest Refuse Suck chants from that period or that point at the end of the second period, and then all the way through the third period. I mean, there were so many boos and Refuse Suck chants that it was going nuts. At the end of that second period, like I was talking to some of the fans of the game, it just seems like with Perry, no matter what happens, it seems like he ends up, for lack of a better term, is just getting screwed. I just think a lot of the refs don't like Perry. He ended up getting a penalty, and I understand he gets hit late, and then he goes and practically mounts the guy and starts whacking the guy, and they're going to give him 2 minutes. I get that, but then when they add the two to Kessler, somehow the Sharks come out with a power play, and then it just built from there. Getzloff got pissed and threw his stick in the bench when he exited the ice, and that got him the additional 2 minutes. But he shouldn't have even had to get mad at that point. I mean, it should have been either a Ducks power play or it should have been even call, Eddie. And I don't know what it is, but it just seems like when Perry gets involved in things, a lot of times he just gets
Yeah,
the
and
short end of the
and
stick.
I don't know how you come out with that on a 5-on-3 and with Getzlaff, throwing a stick into the bench, and rarely do you see a penalty. It's after the play, period's over. He's frustrated. You see a lot of goalies just after shootouts still smash their sticks on the bench, and nothing gets called. And I know that's after the game. This is still during the game, but it's kind of a questionable one. And I get the Corey Perry getting a roughing, and Wingo's getting interference, and usually when you see late hit and a scrum after, that's usually what comes out of it. But somehow in the situation, the refs saw that doling up 3 penalties, and really to at least two of the Ducks better penalty killers in Getzlaff and Kessler, and even Perry's pretty decent on the penalty kill as well. Arguably the 3 best players on the Ducks all come out with penalties for beginning of the third period, and the Sharks get a goal, and for a period that was pretty much dominated by the Ducks after that point onward, Niemi just shut the door for most of the game, and the Ducks didn't really have any chances on the power play to make a difference either as well.
Yeah, I think like you pointed out, the killer was it wasn't so much just the 5-on-3 full 2 minutes that the Sharks got in the beginning of that third period, but the fact you had Perry, Kessler, and Getzloff all in the box, obviously, if the 3 best players or top 3 out of 4 or 5, obviously, of the Ducks in the penalty box, and then it was almost a huge momentum swing. I mean, the Ducks got it so close down to the last 2 seconds. Anderson lost his stick, which was unfortunate, and that was the way the Sharks scored. But man, if the Ducks would have killed that, I think the momentum would have really shifted because the Ducks played decent that third period. They outshot San Jose 15-5. They had them on their heels. Maroon had a couple golden chances earlier in the game. Cogliano hit the post. There was just a lot of things just went wrong for the Ducks that night, and it was unfortunate because that third period it really could have turned out differently if the Ducks started only down 5-on-4, or if they would have killed that and then gone from just
Yeah,
being
and
down
we've
one
kind of seen
nothing
that a
getting.
lot this game. It's obviously not a complete game, but I really don't. It's not one of those games where I'm looking at how the Ducks played and I'm feeling bad and I'm feeling like they gave this away and it was their fault. The goals on Anderson and even from the defense point of perspective weren't that bad. One of them was obviously an empty netter. Pavelski's first goal. You could maybe blame the defenseman in front for not picking him up, but that's a late tip right in front of the net, and on a 5-on-3 with no stick, Anderson basically did all he could to try and get to the puck and ended up being able to get there. Obviously the Ducks had a goal disallowed to Smith Pelly for goalie interference, but no, I think it just comes down to that a goalie battle that game, which was won by the Sharks because of a couple of fluke goals and a couple of lucky power plays in the third period.
Yeah, definitely. And another kind of a story from this too is later in that third period, Corey Perry was getting held for a good 10 seconds in front of the Sharks net. No call was made. And some of the fans have told me that the ref Kazari, the one that was one of the two on ice that night, kind of had it in for the Ducks or whatnot. I haven't heard anything official, but that's just what people are saying from past games. But I don't know what it is. It just seems like for me, every time Perry gets involved in something, it seems like it's either an evened up penalty or a penalty against him. And it just seems for some reason, I don't know what it is, Eddie. I don't know if it's just because a lot of people, he's the type of player you love to hate, or what. But I don't know. He just does not. He just can't buy a call. It just seems like. And I mean, in that one, he was getting held, and he wasn't, diving or doing anything to, embellish it or whatever. He was being held big time, and I remember, man, the fans were pissed, and I mean, I was one of them. I couldn't believe that they didn't call anything. But I think it's just maybe a reputation with Perry that the refs just don't want
Yeah,
to
and you see that
call
with a
anything
lot of
for him.
players when the refs going into a game. They know who these guys are and they know what type of players they are. But I don't really think they should hold any bearing when they go into a new game. But obviously, the refs they're human and they're gonna have their opinion on some players. I don't know any of the other past Duck games that Kazari's refereed. I know there's been a few, and the fans obviously have a reason to be mad if there's other games that have been like this one where he's questionably called the Ducks on a few things and let some calls against them go. But I think again with the reaction after this game, I'm gonna pay attention and see if there's any other games he's refing on coming up and see if there's any big difference in the calls being made from the other games that they play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see what happens with him in future games when the Ducks, have him on ice. But it was good to see at least the Ducks came out in the next game against the Blues, and they ended up, winning this game. This one was a wild one. Ducks started out strong. They were up in this one 1-0, Eddie, and then the second period was one of probably the most entertaining periods in this game that I've seen, with just goals after goals after goals being exchanged back and forth. And the Ducks ended up pulling this one out 4-3. But man, was a it
Yeah,
was a
and
nail
we
biter.
got another strong game from Anderson as well. He's come out and giving them a chance to win, and Brodeur was obviously the goalie of choice for the Blues with Allen struggling a bit lately, and obviously Elliott still being out, and Brodeur's really his last chance to show them that he's worthy of maybe picking up the backup role from Jake Allen or sticking around. And he sort of struggled this game. His numbers haven't been great, nothing above 900 on the save percentage. But saw Getzlaf get back into it after being everybody being held off the score sheet early on the power play, and the Ducks had a pretty decent first period as well, to go along with it, and then obviously it opens up into this crazy second period that it's pretty much shot wise dominated by the Blues, but the Ducks are still able to pick up 3 goals in the period, or sorry, 2 goals in the period. To even it out, getting outshot 18-7, and coming off a period still at least tied is not too bad either. And obviously we saw Alex Steen, who was the recipient of the puck for most of the night, finishing the night with 11 shots and 2 points, ended up tallying at the end of the period to tie the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one, I guess, good thing the Ducks can take away is that Tarasenko didn't get a goal. I mean, that guy was the one I was thinking would score tonight. Shattenkirk got on there, like you said. Steen with his 11 shots got one in there. Oshie got on there too, which not a surprise for them, for their players scoring. But I was happy to see Palms and Cogs get some goals, though. Palmieri being in and out with injuries, and then Cogs just, he seemed like he's been a magnet for those posts steady, and finally he gets one in there, and you could see the sigh of relief.
Yeah, and those are two guys we need to get scoring goals and get around the 15-20 mark that we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. If we're gonna have some success in the playoffs or near the end of the season, we're gonna need a lot of secondary scoring coming from specifically those guys. Palmieri's been, I wouldn't say excellent, but he's been really good from coming back from injury. He's already got 6 goals, and he started off pretty strong. Cogliano, a little bit late. He's only got 5 so far, nothing compared to last season, but if these guys can get going, hopefully it'll add to the secondary scoring, and with guys like Perry coming back and the lineup starting to take shape with everybody coming off injury, hopefully these guys are going to continue putting some goals in the net.
Yeah, I mean, having them add some goals is going to help. And then Bolesky came through again. He game-winning goal, his team-leading 16th goal. And, Eddie, he registered his 100th and 101st points of his NHL career.
Yeah, and when you keep saying you don't know if he's gonna continue this, this great season that he's having, he ends up scoring a pretty nice goal to win the game and picking up 2 points. So, every time you kind of question the fact if he's going to continue, playing this well, he ends up showing up and scoring a big goal. So obviously he's been one of our breakout players this year, one of our best performers, still leading the Ducks in goals, obviously, because Perry's been out for so long. But making up for some of these guys having such a not a great year compared to last year, like Cogliano, Bolesky's kind of making up for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a big surprise and a big help. And I mean, if the Ducks are going to go far, I think Bolesky, Cogliano, and Palms are going to be, 3 of the key guys to keep providing, secondary points and assists to get this team. I mean, obviously we're still up in the top of the league, but to get us past difficult teams in the playoffs, I think that's going to be the way that we're going to have to do it.
Limit some of the effort that Anderson has to do per game. Defensively, they're going to have to be better, and obviously getting everybody back healthy is a huge first step, and then getting everybody all at the same rhythm and just playing at a top level. Hopefully they can get everything going, and goal scoring hasn't really been a problem this season, and it's mostly been keeping the puck out of our own net through defensive errors. Anderson's been great, just haven't had much of a backup, but they're still first in the league, and with a lot of guys scoring secondary goals in Bolesky and Palmieri and Cogliano, it's definitely looking bright for the rest of the second half of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the only thing I wish is maybe the Ducks will
Hmm.
blow somebody out one night, just once, please. I mean, there's just so many one goal games and overtime games. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's exciting and it's fun, but at the same time, I'm like, it'd be nice just to blow somebody out for one game and not have to be stressed until the
Yeah.
last final 5 minutes or whatnot. But like you said, I mean, we can't. We're still rolling. We're doing well, and
Yeah, you get another
hopefully we just
a
continue that
9-1
on.
win like against Vancouver last year, and ease some of the tension that's going on
Yeah,
because
just
if they're winning, it's by one goal, and usually if they're losing, it's by 2, 3, or 4. We saw on the Eastern road trip losing 6-2 to Toronto, then losing 6-2 to Ottawa, sandwiched between a one goal win against the Habs and losing 3-0 to the Sharks the other night, and then coming out winning a one goal game. That's why the Ducks are a confusing team this year, to say the least, with so many wins and such a good record, but having only a +4 goal differential, it's it's confusing to say the least.
yeah, the plus goal differential. I can't remember what it was, but it was a lot higher at this point.
Mm.
There was a graphic I had posted during the Christmas break, and I don't want to say the wrong number, but I remember it was way up there in terms of plus goals for the Ducks. And this year it's been a lot tighter battles. So it would be nice, like you said. We've had a couple blowout losses, so it'd be nice for us to yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a 6-2 variety. I mean, if we beat someone, 3-0, I'm happy with that, that kind of performance too. I mean, it'd just be nice to get a little bit more breathing room, and we'll see. I'm sure they'll do that too. I mean, we can't forget this year has been, a season just filled with illness, the mumps, and then injuries. We've got I think we're still number one in man
Hmm.
lost games. So we're still going to be rolling, going to be doing good, and I'm happy to see where we are now, and I think the final stretch 20 to 10
Yeah,
games is going to be
it's good
exciting.
practice for some of the younger guys and second year guys. You get these one goal games, and you can see a lot of them in the playoffs, and it's good that they can come out and win the majority of these one goal games. I think the last time I checked, maybe with this St. Louis game, we've got 16-0-6. I'm probably wrong with the numbers, but it's close to that in one goal games this season. And when you don't lose in regulation, or you lose only like one in regulation in one goal games, that's something that's gonna translate over to the playoffs and be hopefully a big thing that the Ducks are able to win all these close games and then finish them off.
All right, we got Jake on our show. He's been on our show before. He runs a blues podcast, the Loose Chicklets Show, and welcome back to the show, Jake.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, definitely. This last game where the Ducks and the Blues played was definitely a different game from the first two. The Ducks taking the first one 3-0, and the Blues taking the second one 2-0, and then this one we had a wild 4-3 game there, Jake.
Yeah, it was back and forth, and I mean, the people who want more offense, it seems as of late that they're getting more offense in every game. It's back and forth, and with two stellar goalies in net, you would think it'd be a little bit different, but it was exciting to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that second period, you guys really put it on. You had 3 goals in that period. You had Steen with the power play goal. He had 11 shots in that game. I mean, and he's up to his 9th goal, and Oshie's got his 7th now. It seems like you guys have been coming around now that you've been more healthy and having a more balanced attack.
Yeah, it excuse me, I think everybody's starting to click a little bit more. Obviously, you said with Steen with 9 goals, and he got his 10th last night against San Jose, and then Oshie had 7 with Anaheim, and then he had a hat trick last night against San Jose. So he's starting to come around a little bit more, and we got Schwartzy back last night in the San Jose game, and also Carl Gunnarsson back. So we actually had a full healthy lineup, um, and yeah, things are starting to come our way a little bit, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this Blues team out. They're interesting to watch because it's just one game. It could be an A+ game for them, and then they crap the bed the next day. It's weird.
Yeah, we've talked about that. the Ducks and stuff. I mean, we've had games where we've won. A lot of them we've won by one, or we lost by 3 or 4, like we did with the Sharks earlier before. So, I think part of that is just going with the nature of the sport. I mean, anything can happen, and any team can, have a good night or a bad night, or anything like that. And even like this game, I wasn't expecting this to be this type of game. I was thinking it was going to be, like you said, maybe a more tighter type game. I mean, obviously both teams have most of their players. Both were dealing with the mumps issue earlier in the season, injuries and whatnot. But I just think that's how the game goes sometimes, Jake.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely flowing more towards the offense. But yeah, like you said, with both teams, um, we're used to seeing a very tightly knit group, and the Ducks and the Blues, they're a lot alike, and especially in a defensive from a defensive mindset. And with Freddie Anderson in net, and I believe we had Marty in net for
Yeah.
you guys. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, you had Brodeur in for that game.
Yeah, so I mean, you would think. I mean, and he was stellar. He looked good, and Freddie looked good. It's just peppering shots. There's shots after shots after shots, and I know it's not the style that Hitchcock wants to play, but I guess if it's working, then you got to just
Yeah,
ride it out
and
for the
where do
time
you
being.
see Marty going now with Elliott obviously coming back, and Allen was a healthy scratch, I think a couple of nights ago, and do you see him sticking around as maybe a third goalie, maybe taking over the backup, or is he going to be moving on before the trade deadline?
Oh, that's the one question in St. Louis that everybody has. I've tried to just give my opinion as much as I can, especially on our Loose Chicklets podcast. But to be completely honest with you, I don't even think Doug Armstrong knows what he wants to do quite yet. I truly believe, and this is completely my own opinion. I've no source to go on with this, but you need Marty. You're gonna need him. There was a couple interviews as of late with a couple different St. Louis Blues personnel that Jake Allen's kind of got a little cocky head right now for some reason, and it's turning into lackadaisical practices, which is obviously showing on the rink, night in night out, and that's why he was a healthy scratch. Hitchcock is giving him a week off, I guess, to kind of just reset and go from there. But it's a very interesting thing because Allen's not going to go anywhere. He's our guy. He's the future. Um, we really missed Elliott. That showed. And then you have Marty. I mean, he came in. I think he's 3-3 with the Blues right now. He had that crazy game in LA, but he bounces back and he gets a shutout against Colorado, and then he plays pretty good against the Ducks a couple nights ago. So I think you need it. I think if anything, keep him in the offices for a little bit. I mean, keep him in the locker room because you're gonna need him come playoff time. I'm a firm believer. I think the first time I was on this show, I talked about how the Blues were gonna go out and get another goalie. I certainly didn't think it would be Martin Brodeur, but they're gonna need that third goalie. And I mean, if it's working, then again, just let it go. Just go with it. But it's been interesting with Marty, but I like it, and I think he's here to stay for a little bit. But Armstrong's a wizard, and I don't know what's going to happen later on today. So
Yeah,
we'll
and,
see
and
where
you
it
know a lot of
goes.
people are looking at Brodeur's numbers too, and kind of hate on him for he's got a .899 save percentage, but I think his numbers are about the same as Allen's. Obviously, Allen had that great start the first few games he played, and he has a really good record. But as of late, his play's kind of slumped, and I think you're right with keeping Marty on is probably a smart idea for the playoffs. And even though he's struggled numbers wise for his record is 3-3 is not too bad for a backup, and if Allen's struggling as of late, it's not too bad to have a goalie of Marty's caliber to come in and back up a few games.
Yeah, I completely agree. And who better to kind of show Allen the way than Martin Brodeur? I think he means, excuse me, I think he means so much to that locker room. I'll be honest with you guys. I I didn't want Marty. I didn't know what kind of person that he was.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed, obviously, selfishly and regrettably assumed that since he was Mr. Martin Brodeur, that he would have this egotistical swagger about him. And boys, I couldn't be more wrong. Like, he is world class. He actually came into the locker room the very first day and said, "Hey, I'm the rookie here. I'm gonna pick up pucks after practice," and he did it. Like, Martin Brodeur's picking up pucks. I mean, come on, that shows a lot about his character right there. And he said that he just wants to play on this team. He loves this team. He loves everybody here, and he'll do whatever we want him to do. So he's been great for us so far. I think, and I'll end it with this. I think it's a little bit different as far as like the play with Marty and then Elliott and Allen. The way the Blues are set up, we don't need a flashy goalie. We just need a very positional sound goalie, because a lot of pucks, if they get through, it's going to be deflected because we block a lot of shots. So if you're just there, like as like Elliott and Allen, if you're just in position, we're going to be all right. And Marty, he's kind of crazy in the net. He goes, he's 2-pad stacking, windmill save, poke check, and that's fine. It's all great, but I don't think it works the greatest in the Blues system. But then he gets a shutout, so it's just back and forth and back and forth. I'm torn, but I like the guy, and I think he can bring a very professional mentality and experience, especially in the playoffs. And I do think you need to keep him.
Yeah, and that I was kind of surprised with, with Marty coming in the locker room and being that type of guy. I know all of last year when he was looking for a new team and all through the off season he was talking about how he wants to be the starter and he feels like he can still start in the NHL and now it looks like he's pretty much accepted this backup role and he hasn't been a distraction. He's been that glue in the locker room. So I think it's good to see from him and hopefully he in the playoffs he's definitely going to be that calming aspect for a guy like Allen. Even if he doesn't play, he's going to be that kind of like Roosevelt for the Blackhawks when they went to the Cup. He didn't really play, but he was that locker room leader and kind of spurred them on to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely, and you need it, and that's another thing why, excuse me, I thought Marty was a little egotistical because he turned down a couple different teams because because they weren't Cup contenders, and he said that he only wanted to be the starter, and that made me think of him as, oh my God, this guy, he needs to realize he's 42, he doesn't have it anymore. But yeah, he does. I went to a couple practices and I mean, Tarasenko shoots glove side, and Marty just snags it out of midair, and Tarasenko's got one of the greatest shots in the league right now. So you definitely need him, and we'll see what happens come playoff time. But don't don't discount Doug Armstrong. He's insane. Like he'll make. We constantly talk about player movement on our show because there's been a lot of speculation between the Bruins and the Blues this year, with a big blockbuster trade. And we always end the segment with, "Don't be surprised if you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to use the restroom and see a notification on your phone saying that there's been 3 Blues players traded," because Armstrong works 24/7 and he is one of the best in the league.
Jake, on that note too, I think the Ducks and the Blues are similar in that aspect because with Murray, he's been the same way. And some of the rumors lately now have been Yager's been thrown around out there, and we talked about that in the last show, which I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I don't think so, but Eddie and I are the same way. We tell people, hey, you just never know what's going to happen. The Ducks are also similar to the Blues in that we have Brizgalov, and now we're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? It's a little bit different. Brodeur's done pretty well for you. Well, Briz has not done as well for us. So it might be an easier decision for, Murray on our end when Gibson comes back to bring him up and, send Brizgalov down. But it seems like these two organizations are, pretty similar as far as how they're run.
They are, absolutely. And Murray excuse me again, he's great too. I mean, bringing in Kessler, not hesitating to go out and get Kessler and and Nate Thompson, who I think is an incredible player from Tampa Bay, and I'm not exactly sure if he's having a great year with you guys, but um, he's good at what he does as well. And yeah, we are similar. But definitely both the teams are similar. I know a lot of the talk this year is about the Bruins. They want Oshie. Um, and I tell you what, boys, I'm one of the very few. I'm okay with that as long as we get the right piece in return.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because Oshie, like we talked about, he had the seventh goal against the Ducks, and he had that hat trick last night. I mean, it seems like he's coming on. I mean, it would have to be a pretty good price, don't you think, Jake, for some kind of a deal to be done?
I do. Like I said, I'm one of the very few who do want to get rid of TJ. I love TJ. I know he's great for the locker room. This is his 7th year with the Blues now. He has yet to score. He's only scored 20 goals in a year one time, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And I think if you get rid of him now, this is his highest potential trade value. I think that the Blues have a 3-year window with the Cup. If we don't win a Cup in 3 years, it's going to be a lot of turnover with players. I think at that 3-year mark, TJ Oshie's 30 years old, and if you don't get rid of him while he's 27, 28, his trade value is going to go way down. And as far as getting back in return, from my source with the St. Louis Blues, I've been hearing Patrick Berglund and TJ Oshie straight up for Louis Eriksson and Milan Lucic from Boston.
Interesting.
And that, in my eyes, boys, that's what this Blues team is missing. We went last year from this really hard-nosed, gritty team, and I never thought I'd say this, but we look soft. Mm-hmm. The Blues look pretty soft. Maybe not as soft as other teams, or maybe I'm just so used to the rough and tumble game that that I'm not seeing that anymore. So maybe it's just tapered off a little bit, and I'm being a little bit too hard on him. But Milan Lucic, all bias aside, one of my favorite players in the NHL. I love the way he plays. He's hard-nosed, he's rugged, and you need him. You need him for the playoffs. You need a player like that for the playoffs. You guys have your Kessler,
Right.
And that's how I see Lucic. I think Kessler is faster, and I think he's a little bit more skilled than Lucic. But I think Lucic has a little bit more size than Kessler does. And he has the little attitude of, I really don't care.
That's true.
I'm just going to beat the crap out of you if I have to.
Right.
The Blues don't have that. We don't have that right now. And it's not something we need now. Obviously, we won 7-2 against the Sharks last night. We don't need it right now. But so there's going to be some stuff that happens in the trade deadline. And if I'm the general manager, I'm looking for a rough and tumble, rugged third line, fourth line, maybe even second line guy to lead us into the playoffs.
Yeah, and you talking about all that and going on. What do you think? I mean, right now you guys are right behind Chicago and Nashville. What do you think? Do you think if that kind of deal's done, you think that's something that can get you past those teams and to the Western Conference Finals at least?
I think that'd be a start. Last year, I mean, again, to kudos to Doug Armstrong. Last year, the Blues couldn't score against the Hawks first round. He went out and got Stastny and Laterra. Now the Blues can score a lot of goals, so we're capable of that. But in return, we sacrificed a little bit of our grit and tenacity, which we all know you need that in the playoffs just as much as you need scoring. So we're just trying to find an even keel and trying to balance out. But I do think that with maybe a Lucic coming over here, I'm not, you know what? Not even something so big as that either. Maybe even like a trade deadline, like a Rafi Torres, which I'm sure you guys hate out there in Anaheim because I think he's with San Jose, but or Steve Downey, so something like that. Somebody that just is mean. I think that's what we need, and I think when you have that guy, excuse me, putting a stick into Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and with Nashville, with the Mike Fishers and the Philip Forsbergs and James Neal. I've watched James Neal play for a long time. If you can make him mad, you can piss him off, and he'll take some stupid penalties. Mm-hmm. So maybe the agitator is what we need to get past them right now. But I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Speaking of the Blackhawks and moving on a bit, the All-Star game's coming up on on the 25th, and they recently named the first 6 All-Stars, and 5 of the first 6 were Blackhawks, and Kane, Taves, Keith, Seabrook, and Crawford, and Zegmas Girgensons receiving votes from basically everybody in Latvia was the other 6. 2 of the Blues are projected to make the team are Tarasenko and Shattenkirk. What are your thoughts on the All-Star game? Are you gonna watch it, or are you gonna kind of stay away from it?
I honestly, boys, I think it's a joke. I love watching it. It's entertaining. It's fun. I'm more of a skills competition kind of person though. It really, showcases the hands and what these guys can really, really do. And I think that's a lot more fun than the All-Star game per se. But God, look at the way the NHL did the voting this year.
Exactly.
That is a joke. I mean, I'm not to just be all over Tarasenko, but the kid's got 22 goals this year.
Yeah.
He had that one-handed goal against the Rangers. I mean, he is going to be unbelievable. He really is. And for him to get overshadowed by a dude named Zimzins Girgensons, who I know is a good player. He is a good player. I've watched him before.
Yeah.
He's no Tarasenko, so it's a joke. And then you have all the bandwagon Chicago fans. I mean, I'm sure you guys are feeling the heat too. Who do you think would be in the top 5 or 6 there? I mean, from your team, probably a Getzlaf, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I have him on my fantasy team this year, and the dude's kicking ass for me.
NHL #1 star this month.
Okay, there you go. Exactly. And I know Tarasenko, he's been star of the week 3 or 4 times this year. Whether it's second, third, first, whatever. But I don't know. I think the voting is a joke. The All-Star game is going to be fun. I want them to go back to the actually picking teams like you do in kickball when you're in 3rd grade. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was funny to watch and everything. But no, I wanna look at the skills competition and kind of see that. But as far as the game,
the game's kind of
whatever.
lost its touch for me too. It hasn't become much of a big thing because it's mostly guys just kind of showing off. There's nothing really interesting ever to watch, and it's kind of always like a 9-8 game, and usually you would think that would be fun to watch, but the game's kind of like a half-ass kind of game, and I'm usually watching it for the skills competition anyway. But I completely agree with you on the voting when it's whoever's fan base has the most fans. Those guys are gonna get in. You see that with 5 Blackhawks getting in on the first ballot, and Zegnas Girgensons getting in because he's the only Latvian player in the NHL, so the whole country comes in and votes. So yeah, I agree with that. I think the picking of the players should come down to to the league or some where you pick the very best players who's been performing the best that season, they get to go in, and it will kind of work out like that. But I don't think that 5 Blackhawks deserve to go there for sure. And obviously Girgensons been playing well, but is he really one of the top 20, 25 players in the league? Yeah, definitely not yet.
Right. Girgensons doesn't even have the most points on his team. Like the last time I checked this out, he was behind Tyler Ennis, who is not even remotely close to being in the All-Star game. Corey Crawford,
yeah,
he was out. He hurt his ankle at a Rise Against Rock concert, body surfing. And he gets thrown into the All-Star. I mean, I know. St. Louis has like 500,000 people, and Chicago has like 10.5 million. So if you're gonna just leave it to a vote, yeah, of course this is gonna happen. But they should do it like the Major League Baseball. You have your candidates, and then you vote for them.
Exactly.
Let the NHL pick the best 10 of 10 left wings, centers, right wings, and then 25 defensemen, and 7 goalies, and let the fans vote in from there.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke, boys. To be honest with you, it's a laughing stock. Honestly, excuse me again. I went on there and voted for like Mike Brown, and I voted for I mean, if you can vote for anybody, well then screw that. I want to see Ryan Reeves centering Rafi Torres and Steve Downey on the first line. That's what I want to see. If it's going to be a joke, then let's make it a joke.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, Jake. I mean, the system, the way it's set up, is definitely not. Once that final vote came out, I remember Eddie and I were just like, really? I honestly don't even really watch the game this year. Like both of you mentioned, just to reiterate, the skills game more exciting. See, the players' hands, shooting capability and whatnot.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't know why they're going this way. Hopefully, maybe they'll change it, down the road or whatnot. Because for like you said, the Ducks are a small market team too, and we get shafted all. Eddie and I talk about this too. We get shafted on things too because we're not LA basically.
Right. Absolutely. You're overshadowed in California by the bigger market. It's unfair.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, that's fine. We're going to keep rolling, and I just hope that we go farther in the playoffs this year. I remember last year we had talked about maybe both teams meeting, and, good luck to your team too. And, you never know. We might meet in the Western Conference Finals with this new playoff system.
Oh, God, guys, I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. Me and one of my colleagues the other day, we were talking. It was a pork chop from Loose Chicklets. He was asking me. He's like, so if you had a choice, who would you want to play in the first round? And I'm like, I don't think it matters. I don't. It doesn't matter anymore.
Not anymore.
No, it's just so hard. If you can avoid, if from a St. Louis aspect, if you can avoid the Blackhawks, then try that.
Right.
But we've had battles with Nashville this year. They're a different team, and I've talked about this with you guys before too. It's if you can avoid a California team first round, then good for you.
Right.
Yeah, but then Vancouver.
Yeah,
we've
been getting that a lot too with like people saying skip the Kings in the first round, and you don't want to play them, but like, does it really change when if you don't play the Kings, you got to play San Jose. You don't play San Jose, you got to play Vancouver, and it's kind of the same in the Central too. You got Chicago and Nashville. I think the only saving grace there is Winnipeg, but even they've been playing good this season, so it's kind of like pick your poison when it comes to the playoff and the new format.
No, I mean, like, excuse me. It would just be hard with anything. I mean, you look at the Colorado Avalanche right now in the Central Division. I believe they're in last place in the Central. But would I win a 7-game series with them? Absolutely not. Like, it'd be rough. It's like with you guys too with Edmonton. That might be a little bit of a stretch though, because Edmonton's pretty bad. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a 7-game series. It's the NHL. The parity's insane. Anything can happen. Exactly. So you just got to kind of pick your poison and just hope you're ready to go. Hope you're hot. You got to be hot going in. You can't be cold going in.
I think that's the key, Jake. We've seen that before with the Blackhawks and the Kings. Both those teams get hot and then they just roll all the way to the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, well, good luck to you guys. I'm a fan. I'm a fan when I don't play you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate you being on the show, and
no
we'll always have you on. I think we play at least once or twice more. If not, we'll get you on here. We'll always try to talk about just hockey in general and everything. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. And just real quick for anybody out there who listens to this today, loosechicklets.com. Follow us on Twitter at loosechicklets. We got some pretty exciting stuff coming. We're actually looking into some apparel ideas right now, so. Good stuff coming on the Loose Chicklets front, and good luck to you guys too.
All right, thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, again, that was Jake on our show from the Loose Chicklets show. Check out their podcast. Eddie, it's going to be interesting to follow the Blues and their situation with Brodeur. It looks like it's a little bit more up in the air than our situation. I think we mentioned this before with Brizgalov's situation, and looks like he may get a start later in the back-to-back situation, about 2 weeks, but I think for us, it's probably not going to be as controversial as their situation. I think Gibson comes back and is healthy, and Anderson will be number one, and Gibson will be number two.
Yeah,
going
it's
forward.
Definitely not the same situation. With Brodeur hasn't been great, but he's been arguably at the same pace as Allen lately, and Brizgalov's coming have been horrible, and management has shown no interest in giving LaBarbera the backup role, obviously. So once Gibson gets back, those are the 1-2, and then Brizgalov and LaBarbera can fight it out for 3-4 as long as they want. So as long as we can keep Gibson and Anderson healthy, then I think the situation pretty much solves itself.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much more to go on that. Looking forward to tonight. We are hosting Nashville. I'll be at that game. We're gonna play the Predators team that has been doing really well, Eddie. A team that we cannot take lightly tonight. You've got Forsberg on that team with 14 goals. James Neal, that they got from Pittsburgh, he's got 13 goals. They have a pretty balanced team, and I mean they're doing well
Yeah,
in their
and
division, Eddie.
the thing that Nashville always had a problem with before, you know, they got their new coach and everything, was they were too defensive and they couldn't score any goals, and they go out and make that ridiculous trade with the Capitals and get Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat. And now Philip Forsberg is their breakout player this year, their best player. He's leading them in goals, leading them in points. Only one assist behind Mike Ribeiro, and that line of Forsberg, Ribeiro, and Neal has been something that the Predators haven't had and I don't know how long. They've been able to score goals and put up points, and obviously Shea Weber's continued what he's doing. He's got 8 goals this season, 26 points, and Roman Josi is right up there with him on points as well. So they're a good team defensively. They've always been that, and they've got Pekka Rinne and Ned, and now they can score goals. So if you look at the standings right now, based on how many games they've played and how many points they have, they're the best team in the league right now, and they're gonna be hard to face. And considering we have to, I think the good thing to put in perspective though is it's a home game. Nashville's record at home for them is 14-2-1. The road record's a little bit worse at 11-7-2. So I think that's the only thing we can take solace in, is that we don't have to go to Nashville for this game. I wouldn't want to be anybody facing them in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Eddie. I mean, they're first in the Central Division. They've won 7 of their last 10. They've lost only 2 of those in regulation. So it's going to be a tough game tonight. Obviously, Anderson's going to roll in net for this game, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tight. We always talk about it. It's probably going to be another one-goal game, Eddie.
I don't know who's going to go in net tonight. I believe Rinne was in net last night for the Kings game for them, and this is a back-to-back game for them. I'm not sure if Rinne is going to be the guy in net for them tonight or Hutton. They're in the kind of the same situation with us as Rinne started 33 games for them this season, and they've kind of got spotty starts from everybody else. So you'd expect Rinne in tonight, but if he's feeling a bit tired, we might get lucky and then get Carter Hutton or somebody else.
Yeah, that's our saving grace. Is it's a tail end of back-to-backs for Nashville. So if we're able to pull this one out, that may be part of the reason. And looking forward, we only have one more game before the Solana game next Sunday. On Wednesday, we got the New York Rangers coming to town for their annual visit, basically. And some of their guys have been on fire. Rick Nash has picked it up for them this year with 24 goals. Martin St. Louis got 12, and Brassard's got 10. This is going to be. I don't think this game will be as tough as the Predator game, but it's
yeah,
and
I don't know about that though, because it's as hot as Nashville's been lately. The Rangers have been one of, if not the hottest team in the NHL, right behind the Montreal Canadiens. They've won 9 of their last 10 and won 2 in a row. Again, I think the only thing that helps us is their poor road record and the fact that we're facing them at home. They're 8-6-1 on the road. Rick Nash has stepped it up. Finally, something they've wanted him to do since they picked him up. Marty St. Louis has been, great as he's been for most of his career. Brassard, Stepan coming back from injury, and they've got a lot of guys that can hear you, and they've got a goalie tandem in Talbot and Lundqvist that have been great this season. So, they're looking to improve on making it to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, and they're still going to be a tough game, especially because they've been streaking lately.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough game for sure. I was just looking at the standings; they're not as high up as Nashville, but like you said, they are on a roll. They have won 9 of the last 10. So I mean, no opponent's probably an easy opponent for the Ducks, except maybe the Oilers. No offense to Edmonton, but I out of these two games, I mean, I would think if the Ducks were to win, I would think they would pull out this one. I would hope. I mean, obviously, I would hope they pull out both, but if they win one, lose one, I wouldn't
Yeah,
be too surprised either, Eddie.
Nashville, I think we can come up with a win just based on the way we play. Shut down the first line, and it's gonna probably be another 1-goal game. And I think the game against the Rangers, it might be a little bit easier. They're obviously a good team, but I think with their poor away record, if we can take advantage and get one early and put them behind and forecheck them for the rest of the game, I think definitely a win against the Rangers and maybe picking up a point and hopefully two against Nashville tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It'll definitely be two more entertaining games for sure. And other news going on with the Ducks, they sent Edom down to Norfolk since Palmieri's active and back in. Obviously, Heatley's down there too as well. Any comments or anything you think about Edom going down? Should we have kept him up
I
maybe,
think
or was it the right
everybody knew
move?
that this was the guy who was going to get sent down. Obviously, we all hoped that he was going to have a better season this year, but he's only had 6 points in 27 games, and he's been, pretty non-apparent in every game he's played. You haven't really noticed him. He hasn't done a lot. Even when he scored, I haven't really paid much attention. He's with only getting 6 points, so I think it's a good thing for him. Hopefully, he can have a strong finish to the season in the AHL and maybe earn a couple call-ups on the way and earn his way back into the lineup.
Yeah, I agree, Eddie. I think it was the right move. He just hasn't been, like you said, doing as much. 2 goals, 4 assists, plus minus a -4. I don't know. I mean, he's still got the speed, but we just really haven't noticed him as much on the ice as Palmieri or
Yeah,
DSP or some of the others.
we already saw Healy go down because he wasn't performing, and I'm more surprised this didn't happen earlier. I think the only reason it didn't is because of the injuries, and now that everybody's back, he's the guy who's getting the stake. So I think it'll be good for his development. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back, near the end of the season, if not next season, and have a good one.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we can really hope for, I think, at this point in time. And looking, moving to our 3 stars segment. Our one of our writers, Alex, he wrote for the month of December. He put out the 3 stars with a runner-up. He put out Getzlaf as number 1, Vatanen number 2, Kessler number 3, and Anderson as a run-up. What do you think? Do you agree with Alex? Do you think these are the number 1 stars for the Ducks? Last week, last month or so, or you
Well, I think
change
that's
anybody
fair.
around in that order?
You know, it's hard to put Anderson on the outside, and obviously his numbers aren't going to look as good as some of the other goalies in the leagues because he has to play so many games. But I think the importance of him to our team is with Gibson being out is he's probably one of the most important players, if not the most important player, and that's saying a lot with guy how well Getzlaf's playing and guys like Perry on our team. But right now, he's the guy that we need to stay healthy, and obviously we had Perry out and Getzlaf stepped up, but Anderson's the guy we need to keep playing strong. So maybe I think I'd put Anderson in over Kessler or maybe over Vatanen, but Vatanen's been good this season. Those are arguably our 3 best players, other than if you're not counting goalies in Getzlaf, Kessler, and Vatanen, with Perry being hurt for so many games. So I think that's fair enough to say. Maybe Bolesky gets another runner-up mention, and but other than that, that's a pretty fair assessment for how our month went. But yeah, definitely Getzlaf for a start. He's been unbelievable in the month of December.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Getzlaf as far as picking it up with Perry out, and even with Perry back in, he's still been playing well. I think, and maybe some of the fans know this too. I mean, Perry's only been back to 2 games, but I don't think he's 100%, Eddie. And when I say that, I don't mean I think he's injured or he's sick or anything like that, what he's dealt with. I just don't think Perry's, 100% game conditioned and ready to go. And obviously that's difficult for any player that has been out for that long a time. So I think that's kind of hindered him. But I think after give him another couple games, I think we'll start seeing Perry fired up and get back up on this 3 stars that we do for each week
with
or
the
month.
mumps and then the injury, it's hard to get right back into it. He was getting back into it, and then he got the injury. So you're gonna give him a couple games, and I'm sure he'll be scoring again. And he still has 22 points in 25 games, which isn't bad at all. So and he always gets that late second half of the season, hot streak where he scores like 14 goals in 14 games. So we'll see him pick it up soon enough.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I think the other, obviously Kessler and Botman should be in there, and Anderson and Bolesky too. I beat a dead horse talking about Matt, but he's just been doing really well all around, filling in since Corey was out for that long time, and Kessler, obviously he's picked it up too. Obviously we're happy to have him, and that was the guy we wanted in the off season. And as we talked about with Jake too, Murray does what he does. He makes moves, and I think Kessler is going to be a large reason for the Ducks getting that, in the playoffs, and B, getting past the second round.
And with all the rumors again of guys like Gallagher coming in, it looks like he's trying to add some more veteran leadership and some goal scoring with some size on our team. So as much as we might not need Gallagher, Murray's always working, so we'll see what he does. And I wouldn't be surprised if something got done before the trade deadline.
Yeah, you just never know with Murray. There's always he's working it. He's always working it, and that's what you want. You want somebody that's going to be on it, and is always looking to get that extra whatever advantage it is, whether it's a trade or a signing or whatever kind of player movement's going on. And just to finish up, make sure you guys out there still follow the blog and the podcast. Subscribe to it. We're going to do the giveaway for the 2 Temu hockey cards. We'll do that next Sunday in the morning. That'll be posted out on the blog. And just a quick note for some of you that get a lot of your hockey information from capgeek.com. They do a lot of the salary cap, player contracts, how long they are, how much they're worth, and everything. I guess we just found out yesterday that the owner had some health issues and actually had to cease the operations of the account. So we just want to wish the owner Matt well and hope that things get better for him. I don't know what the specifics are, and they're on the website. It's posted not to ask, so obviously I'm going to respect that. But having started this up and, working with Eddie and all of our other writers and everything, it's not an easy thing. So I'm sad to see them shut that website down because they had a really lot of good information.
I know I've used that. I don't know how many times to check up on things and figure out how the Ducks are gonna if they're gonna sign guys and how they're gonna wiggle around the cap space. So they're doing a good job there, and I wish them all the best.
All right, and that's it. We'll see you next week, everybody.
The Anaheim Ducks are the Stanley Cup champions.